The Georgia Bulldogs have their sights set on a third national championship in a 4-year span. And these are 3 reasons why I believe that Georgia football will be better in the 2024 college football season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. The following is brought to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. Guys, head over to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app, and when you do, use promo code SECU for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app, promo code SECU to get $20 off today. Georgia has their sights set on a third national championship in a 4-year span. And when you look back at the 2023 season, for not many programs would 13-1 and an Orange Bowl victory be considered a disappointment, but that is the case in Athens, Georgia, especially when you factor in the Dogs were trying to do something that hasn't been done in nearly 100 years, which is win back-to-back national championships. And, of course, the moment the dust settled in that 63-3 throttling of the Florida State Seminoles, Kirby Smart and company, they got to work trying to figure out how can we get better, get back to the promised land, and make it 3 national championships in a 4-year span, solidifying the dynasty that is Georgia football under Kirby Smart. And guys, believe it or not, as good as Georgia was last year, guys, I've said it before, I think even though that it make the playoff, that it win the title, you could argue Georgia was the best team in college football. I think Georgia could be even better than they were, which is a really scary thought. Again, guys, these are 3 reasons why I believe the Bulldogs could be and will be better in the 2024 season. Guys, we will start with number 1. And the storyline that's going to be talked about probably more than any heading into the 2024 season is, how does Georgia offensively replace Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey? And I think, guys, the question is really valid from this standpoint, because Georgia's got talent, right? They got an immense amount of dudes in that wide receiver room. But who steps up in those critical moments, right? Who's going to do what Brock Bowers did late in the Auburn game last year, where Georgia needed a big play, they needed a big catch, they needed a dude to go out and make a play, and Brock Bowers was there. And seemingly he was there all throughout his entire career to make that big play. Same thing with Ladd McConkey, right? We saw him over and over and over again, not just be talented, but be a go-to guy in those pressure moments. When the pressure got turned up, there's some guys that wait for someone to make a play. There's other guys that step up and say, I want to and am going to go make the play. That's what Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey were. But with that being said, guys, and I know it's just a spring game, we've got more of a body of work than that on these guys, but if you do look at the spring game, you look at a guy like Dominic Lovett and the type of spring game he had the fantastic one-handed catch in that game. You look at what Thomas has done throughout his career. You look at Dylan Bell, what he was for Georgia last year, and the type of player he can be. You know, Oscar Delp isn't a Brock Bowers necessarily, but he's got an NFL build, right? He's got that type of physique. Also, the guy you bring in from Stanford's a big-time player. Guys, the first reason why I think Georgia football could be even better, because believe it or not, despite losing Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, I think the group of pass catchers that Georgia has, the wide receiver room specifically, I think that room could be even better, at minimum deeper than it was in 2023, which again, guys, is a scary thought, because you're never probably going to be able to replace Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers was a once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation type of talent, right? Going to be a long time before a guy like that comes back around. Ladd McConkey, very similar. But you look at the talent in that room, right? You had a couple of guys last year. I mentioned Lovett, Thomas, guys that had transferred in, got their feet wet last year, but weren't those big-time wide receiver 1 guys. Now with McConkey gone, they've been in the system also for a year, right? They've been able to get themselves acclimated to Mike Bobo's scheme and system. I think the wide receiver room could be even better, right? Carson Beck's going to even have more to work with. Now, who are the guys that step up in crunch time? That's a question we have and we're going to have until we get to that moment. But in regards to talent and the capabilities of dudes in that room to make plays, I think Georgia could be deeper. I think they are deeper, guys. I think they are deeper with high-end talent. And so I think despite losing Bowers and McConkey, the receiver room, the group of pass catchers, the supporting cast around Carson Beck could be even better than it was in 2023. Guys, my second reason I think Georgia football could be better this season, you take a look at the defensive side. Death, taxes, and the Dogs being dominant on defense under Kirby Smart. But, there's some change. There's an overhaul of talent when you look at some of the guys they've lost and some of the guys that got drafted and gone to the NFL. And certainly you've still got a lot of returning experience. But Georgia ranking outside of the top 50 when it comes to returning experience on the defensive side. Good news for Georgia is this, guys. We talk about returning experience, but so many of these guys have played a lot. They may not have started, but, today's second and third stringers at Georgia, they're tomorrow's draft picks, right? That's really how it works on the defensive side of the football. You look at that secondary specifically, guys, and I think something that's going to make Georgia absolutely lethal on the defensive side of the football. One of the most underrated, right? There's been a lot of coaching staff changes this offseason, right? I think Kalen DeBoer to Alabama kind of dominated the headlines, if you will. It brushed some other things under the rug. The addition of Travaris Robinson to this Georgia staff, and I think the value he's going to bring in, you couple that with some of these top freshman defensive backs that the Dogs added, I think it's going to lead to an elite secondary this season, and I think it's going to make Georgia even better on the defensive side. Guys, you look at some of these youngsters, Ellis Robinson, who was one of the top-rated players in all of college football in regards to the recruiting cycle. KJ Bolden is now in as well, was once a Florida State commitment. Andre Evans, D'Amelio Jones, there's some more like under-the-radar guys, four-star signees. They feel really good about. Guys, Georgia is loaded. You couple that with a returner in Malachi Starks, the Dogs are absolutely loaded in the secondary, and they've got one of the best in the business in Travaris Robinson that's going to be guiding them and leading them and coaching them up. So I think Georgia, they're going to be elite in the front seven. They're going to be really, really salty there. I think it's going to be a fun storyline to fall early as well. How does the defensive line start the season? Because you might recall last year, you got off to a slow start. Hey, listen, you got the leaders up there in the front with Nazir Stackhouse and other guys that are back in your front seven, Shmael Munden at linebacker. But I think that secondary, you add in Travaris Robinson, you add in all this young talent, you couple that with some of your returners, I think Georgia is going to be elite in the back end of the defense. I think it could make that defense even better than it was in 2023. And guys, my final reason why I believe that Georgia football will be better. And this is one, guys, that if you've watched Georgia long enough, you followed Kirby Smart, you've picked up on this. And I'm selfishly so excited to see it. I was excited to see it in the spring game and hear about it. But, the thing that Kirby Smart has spent the last couple summers talking about, right? You win back-to-back national titles. He said their number one enemy was complacency, right? And that's what coaches are fighting. You come off winning a national title. How do we keep guys hungry? How do we keep guys motivated? That's something that Nick Saban at Bama did such a good job of. They never settled. They never rested on their laurels, even when they had every single excuse to do so. The third reason, guys, why I think Georgia football could be better this season and will be better is because there is a massive chip on the shoulder that is going to be driving that Georgia machine, that red and black machine, all year long. And there is nothing that is more fun to watch than a pissed off Kirby Smart who is on a mission. And I think Georgia football, I think that Georgia program, they are going to be on a mission this season. We've heard the halftime speeches. We've heard the postgame speeches. Kirby Smart, I don't care who you're a fan of, he is a man that'll make you want to run through a brick wall. I think we're going to get more of that this year. I think after getting left out of the college football playoff, right? The best of the best, the top of each of their fields, right? The elite to the elite, they find things to motivate them, even if they're at the very top and everybody's trying to pat them on the back and make them feel good. They find things to motivate them. So if you don't think Kirby Smart, and he might put on a good face for the media or the public, whatever, but you can be rest assured Kirby Smart's pissed off that Georgia did not get in the playoff last year. Kirby Smart's pissed off that Georgia didn't get the opportunity to win back-to-back-to-back national titles. And I think it's going to be so much fun to watch. I think Georgia is going to be even more dangerous and even more difficult to beat because they're going to have that chip on the shoulder that's going to drive them from season's beginning all the way until maybe the confetti falls. So, guys, my 3 reasons why I believe that Georgia football will be better this season. Number 1, despite losing Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver room is even better. Number 2, the addition of Travaris Robinson and top freshman DBs is going to help lead an elite secondary. And number 3, a massive chip on the shoulder is going to drive Kirby Smart and the red and black all season long. Guys, that's going to do it all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that bell icon as well so you get notifications of when we go live and when we drop new video content, which is each and every single day. Also, guys, check out the podcast, which drops daily, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the other side.